You gave up a TV job to start a podcast in your basement. If that doesn't scream midlife crisis, I don't know what does.
It was Championship Sunday here in Indianapolis. What's the mindset then coming in as a defending champion?
I want to win. No, I want to win.
The young lady over my shoulder, Caitlin Clark.
Not the best looking guy. And I don't think anyone's going to sit here and say, Matt Randazzo was really good looking.
What has this last month, 2 months, 3 months been like for you? It's an important fan base for the Fighting Illini, is it not?
It is.
He turned 69 years young last week. He looked good, Coach.
Oh, trying. Thank you.
Welcome to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Monday in the Quad Cities, Monday, February 23rd. Happy Monday, happy start to the work week. Hopefully everyone enjoyed their weekend, a chilly weekend here in the Quad Cities and around the Midwest. But back to the grind. Hopefully if you're looking for a way to get through your work week and your Monday, maybe you're sneaking in and listening to the show. We appreciate it if you are. If you're on YouTube and you're watching us live on YouTube, we appreciate that. Thank you for doing that. If you have subscribed, thank you. If you haven't subscribed, please do so ASAP. That helps us out a ton. Getting close to 1,500 subscribers, so want to get there as soon as we possibly can. We're also live on X. X has been very, very good to us as well. Stay interactive with us, whether it be on X or on YouTube. We have the chat up and going. A great show lined up for you today. So if you got questions for the guests, jump in there, ask them that. If you have suggestions, complaints, whatever it may be, if you want to talk sports, the chat on YouTube is the place to be. We're also on all your podcasting platforms as well. So wherever you get your podcasts, whether it be Spotify, Apple, Podbean, iHeart, wherever you go to get your podcasts, check out Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. You can listen to the show. You don't have to look at me, which is a good deal as well. So, and also welcome to our viewers in Central Iowa. You can see us every night at 7 p.m. On WHO streaming app as well. So welcome to you guys as well. As I mentioned, it was a really fun, busy weekend in sports. Great sports weekend. Some sad news over the weekend we'll get to in a second, and that'll be a big part of today's show as well. Coming up in a little bit, the good news, Kyle Huesmann will be here to talk about the Iowa women. Iowa getting a big victory over Michigan, another signature victory, if you will. So Kyle Huesmann on that in just a little bit. The sad news that I had mentioned, Father Daniel Marabelli passed away over the weekend. He was the longtime priest at Alleman High School, my alma mater, there for 58 years. Let's be real. He was and is and always will be Alleman High School. So we're going to celebrate the legacy and honor Father coming up a little bit later on in the show. Alleman legendary basketball coach Larry Schulte, former Alleman athlete and coach Pat Rangel, and former Alleman athlete coach and a mainstay here on this show, John Marx, will join us coming up later in hour number 1 to celebrate and honor Father Mirabelli. And if you're an Alleman guy, an Alleman person, you understand that. If you're a Quad Cityan, you understand it as well. That was what was cool over the weekend, to see the outpouring of support, not just from Alleman people, but from everybody, from Rock Island to Moline to Bettendorf, all over the Quad Cities, knowing what Father Mirabelli did, not just for Alleman High School, but for Quad Cityans. So we'll talk all about that coming up in just a little bit. And also the Maquoketa girls are heading back to state. They punched their ticket back to Des Moines with a victory over Assumption on Saturday night. A trio of their players, Cora Widel, Aubrey Kroymann, and Kendall Kuhlman will join us coming up later in hour number 2 of the show as well. So a lot to get to. Let's quickly get you caught up on the weekend. State wrestling on both sides of the river in Illinois. It was Newman's Landon Neer winning a state title. Over in Iowa, the Bettendorf Bulldogs take a second-place team finish. They had 3 state champions, Jack Knight winning it once again, Braden Custer and Lincoln Jip all winning state championships. Dan Knight, their head coach, wrapping up a 20-year career. We're going to have him on the show probably tomorrow, but sometime during the week right here on OTA. Looking forward to that as well. Assumption's Maximus Purdy winning a state championship. Wilton's Mason Shirk winning a state championship as well. So congratulations to all them. We mentioned girls basketball. It's busy. Both sides of the river will do a lot of high school stuff this weekend, or this week, I should say. But this past weekend, along with Maquoketa, Mediapolis clinching their ticket to state as well. And of course, it's going to be Maquoketa and Mediapolis in the first round in Des Moines coming up, I believe, next Tuesday night at like 8:15 or something like that. So we'll talk with Meepo during the week, hopefully sometime as well. College basketball, bad weekend of college basketball for the guys. Illinois blew a big lead out at UCLA, and they lost to the Bruins. Little Tyus Edney remix from back in the day as the Bruins win that game. Iowa loses to Wisconsin at Wisconsin yesterday, and Iowa State lost to BYU. So we'll get caught up with all the men's basketball. Thank goodness for the women, though, because the Iowa Hawkeyes may be the shining silver lining when it came to basketball this weekend, especially for Hawkeye fans. They knocked off Michigan 62-44 in an impressive game at Carver Hawkeye Arena. The 50th straight sellout at Carver Hawkeye Arena, and defense was the name of the game of the Hawkeyes. And so when we're going to talk Iowa women's basketball, we're going to bring in our good friend Kyle Huesmann to kick things off here on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Hi, young man. How are you on this Monday? It's not a busy weekend at all for you with baseball and women's basketball going on, was it?
Yeah, I mean it was a pretty busy weekend, but there's a couple of days off here. We'll see if baseball plays tomorrow. The weather's not supposed to be great. If baseball gets canceled, that'll open up my week a little bit. But as I've said many times, this is a fun time of year with baseball and women's basketball. Obviously, women's basketball kind of reaching towards the end, and baseball just getting started. So it's kind of the most exciting times of the year. The beginning of baseball season, and then obviously when March rolls around, that's the best time for basketball as well.
Kyle, I want. Obviously, we got to talk about the Hawkeyes. An 18-point victory. The final score, maybe not indicative of the game because it was close throughout. Fourth quarter, especially late, Iowa pulls away. So many things to dissect about this game, whether it's defense, Ava Hayden, the bench production, all of those kind of things. I always ask you, so I'll start with, what's your headline? What'd you take away from Iowa's signature victory over what we thought, and we'll be honest, what we thought was probably the second best team in the Big Ten in Michigan, and now Iowa has a claim to that right now as well?
Yeah, I think the headlines, I don't know that I can pick one. I think you have to split the headline between Iowa's defensive performance and then the show that Ava Hayden put on, especially in the second half, really mostly in the second half. Starting with the defense, I mean, Michigan came in, is one of the best offensive teams in the Big Ten, averaging almost 87 points a game. Olivia Olson is one of the better scorers in the Big Ten. She was averaging just over 20 points a game in Big Ten play. Obviously Silas Swords is a great scorer. They've got a lot of options they have in that offense, and that's part of the reason why they're averaging almost 90 points a game. And Iowa just shut them down for the most part. Really not even for the most part, just for the entire game. They held them to 20 points in the first half, which was their second lowest output of the season. They held them to 44 points for the game, which was their lowest output of the season. They came up 8 points short of the Washington game, which was their previous low, which was 52 points. Iowa held them to 5 of 16 from 3-point range, which is actually right around what Michigan shoots for the season. But really held them to low shooting in the paint, or from 2-point range and in the paint. Right around 30% for the game from 2-point range, which was a huge stat coming in, because Michigan in their 22 wins was shooting 58% from 2-point range, and their losses, they were shooting 40% from 2-point range. So Michigan, a team that shoots the three ball average at best. They can get hot at times, but it was kind of one of those where you knew if Iowa could slow down Michigan in the 2-point range and not let them be super efficient there, the majority of the time Michigan doesn't have the 3-point shooting to overcome really poor 2-point shooting. And Iowa did just that, really held them to their lowest 2-point shooting of the season, which was huge. And then they also forced 24 turnovers. So I thought Iowa's defensive performance was fantastic. They were really active with their hands on the defensive end. I thought Kylie Feebach did a great job on Olivia Olson. Now, she wasn't on her every single possession, but she was the one on her for most of the game. And Olivia Olson finished with 13 points. Did get to double figures, but it was just 6 of 16, 3 turnovers, only 1 assist. Over the last 34 games, Olivia Olson has only scored 13 points or fewer in 5 games. And 2 of those are against Iowa now. She had 6 points against Iowa last season. That's the last time she didn't score in double figures. And then obviously, 13 yesterday. So Iowa's done a really good job on Olivia Olson, something that not many teams have been able to do. But for Iowa to hold Michigan to 44 points, that's nearly had they scored 43, that would have been half their season average. So a really impressive performance for Iowa on the defensive end of the floor. And then Ava Hayden, we didn't actually know it going into the game. Was dealing with some sickness, 2 days ago, which would have been Saturday. Was dealing with sickness. Wasn't feeling great on Sunday morning. And she was a little slow out of the gates. I had 4 points in the first half on 1 of 6 shooting. I was kind of wondering early in the game, they were subbing her in and out, getting her some breaks. I was wondering if it was to try to, keep her out of foul trouble. Just give her a few breaks. They were putting Han at the 5 and running Journey at the 4. I thought some of that maybe to try to get her, to the second half in good standing with foul trouble, because they thought it was gonna be a close game. It turned out because Ava just wasn't feeling very good. And there was actually a chat that Jan and Ava had second quarter at some point. I don't remember when it was. Jan followed Ava down to the end of the bench, and it was a conversation of, hey, if you're not feeling great, that's fine, but we need to know if you're able to play or not, because we're gonna have to go a different direction if you're gonna be 1 of 6 from the floor type thing. And kind of challenged Ava that, hey, if you're going to play, we need you to start attacking and start scoring for us, because this is a big game. You're not going to be able to just go out there and have low energy, because Michigan's playing physical. It was a very physical basketball game, and boy, did Ava answer. I mean, she puts up 20 points in the second half, finishes with a double-double, 24 points, 10 rebounds, especially late in the fourth quarter. I mean, you mentioned this game, the final score maybe being a little bit, the gap being a little bit larger than the way the game went. I mean, Iowa pulled away late. It was because Ava just kind of went crazy in the fourth quarter. Scored 12 of the last 14 points of the game for Iowa. And the thing that I really liked out of Ava was some of the extracurricular stuff, not out of hand stuff, but maybe some extra physicality, a little bit of exchanging of words with the Michigan center Ashley Sofocanic, stuff that you don't normally see out of Ava. But you could definitely tell that there was a little bit of a fire lit there from some of the stuff that was kind of boiling throughout the game. And then Ava just kind of took over late in the game. And that was really fun to see, because there's certain players that when that exchanging of words and stuff happens like that, you press too much, maybe you commit a foul that you shouldn't. But I thought Ava basically just said, hey, I'm just going to take over, you're not better than me type of thing. Very quickly, there was one point there where the officials had to one of the officials stepped in and kind of told them, hey, let's kind of calm this down a bit. I think like 2 possessions later, Ava dropped Ashley with a step through. She went to the floor and Ava scored. And then it was that was the beginning of the stretch there where Ava kind of closed it out for Iowa. But she had a fantastic week, put up 72 points in 3 games, had 34 rebounds in 3 games, shot 75% from the floor in those 3 games. If she's not National Player of the Week, I don't know who is going to be. So she had a phenomenal week, and she's been playing great basketball as of late. But in particular against Michigan there in that second half was a big reason why I was able to not only win, but pull away.
Kyle, you mentioned Ava, and obviously she should be National Player of the Week. Iowa fans know. I think even Big Ten fans know how good she is, but her rise to prominence is impressive. Last year at this time, she wasn't getting very many minutes, and we saw it towards the end of last year. Everyone was excited during the offseason of what she's going to be as a sophomore. Was yesterday a national coming out party for her? Being a big stage, being at Michigan, we know. I think I know, and Iowa fans know how good she's been. I think it was a little bit of a national coming out party that, hey, one of the best centers in all of college basketball is a sophomore in Iowa City. Am I wrong?
Yeah, I think you could even go back to Monday, because that game was on Fox as well. The President's Day game with Nebraska. She puts up 27 points, ties a career high. She was shooting the mid-range in that game really well and scoring at a high level. And then obviously the Purdue game was on BTN Plus, so not as many people saw that. But to have those 2 games, like I said, on Fox on Monday with Nebraska, and then yesterday, obviously the high level game, probably even more eyeballs on that one because it was Michigan and Iowa, and a huge top 15. Iowa was 13th, Michigan was 6th. So yeah, I mean, for her to perform at that level on that stage, certainly I saw some tweets from people that were not, Iowa related, that were maybe on the more of the national stage, that were, saying some things that we've been saying for a while. But certainly I think these last 3 games and really almost the month of February, she's taken her game to a higher level. And I think these last 3 games in particular, she shot the mid-range, fairly well. Just seemed like an extra level of aggression out of her. Maybe kind of getting to that point, knowing Ava, she's not the person that's going to kind of go out and say, I'm the best player on this team. I'm one of the best centers. She's just not that type of player. But I think her play on the court, she's starting to get comfortable with understanding, okay, I am maybe the best player on this team. I am maybe one of the best centers in the Big Ten. I am maybe one of the best young, if not the best young center in the country. I'm starting to understand that means it's okay for me to try to take over a game. It's almost similar to what we talked about with Chit Chat Wright early in the year. understanding that, hey, she is a really good basketball player. There's going to be times where Chit Chat needs to shoot some threes and take over a game. And Ava's, I think, is getting into that same spot right now where she's starting to understand there's going to be a game where I'm butting heads with the center of the other team, or it's a close game and I'm playing well. I need to go score the 12 of the last 14 points of the game and help us close this out. And that's what she did yesterday against Michigan. And she's had that level of play over the last couple of games. I think that's what's bringing her to the next level is, like I said, understanding that she is really that good and understanding that there are going to be times where she just needs to take over a game. And I think the level that she's playing at over these last couple of games, it extends Iowa's ceiling to potentially be an Elite Eight level team. Certainly, obviously, Iowa, getting these wins and potentially moving to a 3, maybe even a 2 seed at the NCAA tournament. Certainly, that helps their odds of making a Sweet 16 Elite 8 run. But I think the way that Ava's playing it is what is also helping Iowa's ceiling, reach that potential Elite 8 level.
You took one of my questions. I always like to ask you changing ceilings. Where's this team? You're already answering questions for us. Hawkeye Reports, Kyle Huesmann joining us right now and off there with Matt Randazzo. Twofold question for you when it comes to defense. First off, you mentioned the fact that Olsen hasn't scored much against Iowa twice is exactly when you look at Kylie Feuerbach and when people wonder, and she made some big shots too, including the bank shot towards the end of the, I believe, third quarter or whatever it was, second or third quarter, to keep the lead at 7. So offensively, but her defense is so important for this basketball team. And then Kyle, why were we sitting here against Minnesota with Iowa giving up 90 some points and whatever it was, and now against a really good Michigan team they gave up 44? What changed? Can you identify what the difference is defensively?
Yeah, I think it was interesting. I think I don't know if it was the timing of Taylor McCabe's injury. It was just like a weird time where she goes down and you're playing a really athletic USC team. Then you're playing obviously UCLA, who's, maybe the best team in the country, if not the second best team in the country. And then a Minnesota team that was playing red hot basketball. I mean, I think they lost last night against Michigan State, but they'd won 9 games in a row previous to last night's loss. So they were playing, their best basketball of the season. So not only was Iowa trying to kind of fix things in terms of rotations, combinations, things like that. As we've talked about, the first thing that comes to mind about Taylor McCabe is not defense, but she was one of the better defenders on the team. So trying to figure out who kind of fills that spot, obviously that means Kylie Feuerbach had to play more minutes. She was already playing 28, 30 minutes a game, but she played 34 minutes yesterday. She had to take that load of playing a few extra minutes because you can't take her off the floor when your second best defender, Taylor McCabe, is also not playing. So there was just rotations and combinations that had to be figured out. But Jan also said that, for whatever reason, there was kind of a stretch there where, they weren't as locked into the scout as they needed to be. And maybe they're blowing some assignments, maybe just some things, some details that weren't being executed for whatever reason. I think, any team, the elite teams, you're talking about UConn, UCLA, they don't, necessarily have those nights. Maybe they have one here and there. But I think the majority of teams, even the really good teams, and I would call Iowa a really good team. And even Michigan. I mean, Michigan, is going to have those nights as well. And I think they would say that they didn't play near their best basketball yesterday. There's just stretches there over the course of a long season. It happens in, baseball and, football as well at times. There's going to be a game or two in there where you just aren't, at the level that you should be at. And unfortunately, it came at a time where I was also trying to figure out what to do when you take a starter out of the lineup for the rest of the season. And Jan said that she feels like they've been way more locked into the scout the last couple of games, whether it's Nebraska or Purdue and certainly Michigan. She felt like that was probably one of their better of the season in terms of defensive performances. So I think that's just some of it is really understanding the scout and then kind of getting the confidence back of winning a couple of games in a row. I think that helped a lot as well. They like to say that their defense getting stops and things like that kind of flows into the offense because obviously when the team scores a basket they can press, they can kind of try to slow you down. Certainly you got to dribble all the way down the court, whatever. And even if they're not scoring transition buckets, getting stops, getting momentum in that way can help your offense as well. So I think it was just kind of a combination of a lot of things, but I do think they've just seemingly felt a lot more locked in with the scout over the last few games. And certainly yesterday, like I said, I thought that was their best defensive performance of the season. Very active with their hands, rebounded, okay. They gave up 13 defensive or offensive rebounds to Michigan, but they forced a lot of turnovers, forced a lot of tough shots. And you mentioned Kylie Feuerbach. Jan, tried to give her whatever you want to call it, her campaign for Kylie Feuerbach to be on the Big Ten All Defensive team, and I really hope she is because she deserves to be. And Jan made a good point yesterday that there are two sides that vote. It's the media and the coaches. And I think on the media side, the issue at times is The media, for me, if I was one voting, which I'm not, but if I was, I'm not watching every single Minnesota game. I'm not watching every single Ohio State game or every single Michigan State game to go, hey, that player was really good on defense every night. They might have a good defensive game against Iowa when I'm covering the game, but you're not watching night in and night out. And so a lot of those media people are probably looking at, who has a lot of steals, who has a lot of block shots. So that's why, Lauren Betts is a great defender. But you look at it and you say, okay, she blocks a lot of shots. She must be a really good defender. Or so-and-so for Ohio State gets a ton of steals. Yeah, obviously she's one of the best defenders, right? The problem with Kylie Feuerbach for the media side of voting is that, there's no column on the box score that says, oh, okay, there were 3 times in that game where Olivia Olson would have shot an open shot playing against, Penn State or Purdue or Minnesota or whoever. But, Kylie didn't allow that shot because she closed out or played the ball screen correctly. Or like Nebraska, because they run a lot of ball screens with Britt Prince trying to get her to go to the basket. There's no column to say, oh, 3 times Kylie played the ball screen perfectly and cut off a Britt Prince drive. There's nothing like that. So the media, it's hard to vote. I don't know why the coaches, don't vote her. There's no way that they don't look at that and go, oh, yeah, Kylie Feuerbach, that was awful to try to prepare for her. So I don't understand why they don't vote her. She needs to be on there. Had a perfectly great game yesterday against Olivia Olson. Had a good game against Britt Prince when she played her earlier in the week. You go back, has played well against some other players this season. And she's kind of the one that sets the tone for Iowa. But I thought everyone was really locked into the scout, really playing well. And 44 points against Michigan, like I said, that's pretty incredible.
Okay, we need to get you a vote. Who do we need to talk to? There's no reason Kyle Huesmann doesn't have a vote. We're going to make that happen. Kyle Huesmann joining us on Off There with Matt Randazzo. Can you talk to me about the environment? I mean, you've been to Carver a lot. It's the 50th straight sellout. My lovely wife, and not in a negative way, came into the room when we were watching the game, and she's like, is the Caitlin Clark effect still going on? And I said, no, it's not. It's just Iowa women's basketball. Caitlin's been gone for 2 years. This is Iowa women's basketball, and 50th straight sellout. The atmosphere, the electricity, they're into the basketball game. I feel like it's almost a little different with the men and the women, almost where they're into it more quicker. And I don't know if there's a way to judge that. There's probably not. And I'm going to go to an Iowa. I'm going to try to get to both games this week, men and women. And, the overall environment, 50th straight wins. And I sit there and I look at Coach Jensen and I'm like, it's amazing how great of a hire that was. You know what I mean? It was so quick. It was kind of a duh thing. But remember last year we lost 5 straight. Iowa had lost 5 straight. And people were like, is Coach Jensen the right person for the job? Is she a head coach? She's doing things so great. Can you talk about the environment at Carver yesterday and the 50 straight sellouts and what that program is like right now?
Yeah, I thought the environment was great yesterday. And that's what you come to expect for, you mentioned the 50 straight sellouts. Yeah, all the tickets are sold. There are some games in there where, especially in the non-conference when they're playing, Lindenwood and whoever, where the crowd is not necessarily sold out. But it was, every seat was full yesterday, and that was a great environment. And that's what we've kind of come to expect for those big games with Iowa women's basketball, is the crowd's going to be there. And yeah, the numbers are there. And I put this in straight in my preview for the Michigan game. I was very close to leaning to picking Michigan, and it wasn't going to be by 10 or something like that. It was going to be by a couple points. I might have stuck with my 75-73 prediction and just flipped it with Michigan winning. And then I went through and I was like, it always feels like Iowa comes up and wins these games at home. So I went through and I researched it over the last 8 years, which dates back to, I think, Megan's junior year or senior. I don't know what year it is. Anyway, last 8 years, Iowa was 9-2 at home in regular season games against AP top 10 teams. Away from home during the regular season, they were 3-9. So there's a very, very obvious gap there of how they perform against AP top 10 teams. And that's what I said. I kind of sat there and I was like, they just win these games. You look at USC last year, really basically all of the regular season finales, Ohio State, when Travis Scott's there and, Maya Moore's there, they won that game. That was a huge game. The year prior, Caitlin hits a game winner against Indiana. That was a top 10 Indiana team. I think Indiana was 2 or 3 at that point. That's another win. The year prior, Iowa goes and beats Michigan. When I don't think they were favored in that game. That was the first sellout in that streak. I think that was the first sellout in that streak. Did they sell out Caitlin's junior year, or was it her senior that they started to sell it? I think it was her senior that they started to sell out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was her sophomore year when they beat Michigan. That was the first sellout, I believe, since that Ohio State won whatever year that was, the 80s, 90s, whenever that was. And they won that one as well. So they just seemingly came through in these games that you go into it thinking, it's a toss up, or like USC last year, like they're going to lose, that type of thing, and they've won those. And even like last year against UCLA, they took it to the wire and lost by 2. So that's why I picked Iowa, and the crowd is a big factor in that, because you just not a lot of women's schools have that. I mean, there's a lot of schools in the Big Ten that have good crowds, but no one's selling out 15,000 every night, and that's hard to play in front of if you don't have that experience. And you mentioned the difference between the men's and the women's crowd. I do believe that the women's crowd is very different from a men's crowd. Now, a really good men's crowd, I'm sure that I wasn't at the Nebraska game. I'm sure the environment was fantastic for that one. But I think that the difference with the women's crowd is whether Iowa goes on a short run and the crowd's going crazy for women. But even if Iowa's down by 10 or 12 points in a women's game, they need back-to-back baskets to cut it to 8, and the crowd's on their feet trying to.
They're more optimistic,
right? They really get behind the team in big games, or if they're trailing or things like that. Whereas it feels like at times the men's crowd, you need to go on like a 10-0 run before they're up and going, which, I think is a factor at times. Now, how big of is it a factor? It's not causing men's games to lose, like going back to Fran. Those didn't cause losses. But, it certainly helps if you're down by 12 in a game and you get a layup and then you get a stop and maybe you knock down a 3 and all of a sudden that 12 or 14 point deficit is down to 9 or 8, and all of a sudden the crowd's on their feet going crazy. That is much different than, okay, we got to get it to like 3 or 4 before the crowd, starts to care a bit. And that's the women's crowd is just always so into the game, especially the big games. And I think that's hard for an opponent. When they feel comfortable, we're on the road at Iowa, we're up 12 or we're up 10 or maybe we're only down 2 or whatever. And all of a sudden, Iowa goes on a 4-0 run or something like that. And it's loud. You can't hear anything. Like, man, it's only a 4-0 run and we're still up 10 or we're only down 6 or something like that. And all of a sudden the pressure's on you. So I think that really matters. And yesterday was I'm not going to compare it to other ones. I think there's been better ones, but there's been a lot of environments to compare it to. But yeah, yesterday was fantastic. I think it certainly contributed at times to Michigan's struggles.
A few more with Kyle before we let him go. We talked kind of big picture with where this team goes to and all those kind of things. And they talked about it on the broadcast yesterday that they're probably securing a hosting bid, which I thought they already probably were by that point. They get Illinois on Thursday, good basketball team. There's that letdown factor with coming off a big win against Michigan. Big picture this for me. You did a little bit when it comes to ceilings of maybe an Elite Eight and all those kind of things. What's the road look like right now when it comes to obviously they're going to be at home. Can they get to a 2 seed? All those kind of things as we get. The home stretch is here, Kyle. I mean, it's here before we know it. Your thoughts on those kind of things?
Yeah, I think I don't know the exact math behind it. I think Iowa has probably locked up a double bye for the Big Ten tournament. Minnesota's in 5th; they're 12-5. Iowa's 13-3. Iowa's locked it up because Minnesota only has 1 game left. So Iowa has 2, Minnesota's 1. So Iowa's locked up the double bye at the Big Ten tournament. They currently have the tiebreaker over Michigan for the 2 seed, which actually doesn't really matter because whether you're the 2 or the 3, you have to face the other, and if you make it to the semifinals and they make it there as well. So the difference there doesn't matter a lot. But the big thing for the Big Ten tournament is Iowa has now put themselves in a great position to be the 2 or the 3 seed rather than the 4, which means if you win your first game, you got to play UCLA. So Iowa's done that. They've done that. That's one of their goals. They've locked up a host spot in the NCAA tournament, in my opinion. Probably did it against Purdue, probably maybe even against Nebraska. And now when I say lock it up, I assume that they still would have beat Purdue. And I still am assuming they're going to beat Wisconsin. Now, if they lost to Illinois, they lost to Wisconsin, and then they lost in the first round of the Big Ten tournament, I mean, I still think they might host because they just beat Michigan. But you don't want to do that, obviously. So they've locked up that. The next part that you want to try to get closer to locking up is that potentially moving all the way to a 2 seed at the NCAA tournament. And Michigan was projected to the 2 seed in the latest ESPN one. Does Iowa flip with them? Potentially. Louisville just lost to Virginia yesterday, who's Virginia's a bubble team, so not a great loss. Does Iowa jump a Louisville or something like that? I think, and ESPN will put out their new projection tomorrow. I think Iowa's probably going to be on the 2 seed line tomorrow when that projection comes out, and there'll be a couple other ones. I think I'm going to try to get an update out on Wednesday or something like that to see kind of where Iowa stands. I would have Iowa as a 2 seed right now, but that doesn't mean they're done, right? As you mentioned, they got a good Illinois team that's going to make the NCAA tournament. Illinois is 19-8. That all of a sudden becomes it's not a must win in terms of anything, critical, but it's a must win if Iowa wants to get that 2 seed. You can't beat Michigan and put yourself onto the 2 seed line and then lose to Illinois, because then they would probably drop off the 2 seed line. So I think if Iowa goes and takes care of business against Illinois, if they take care of business and beat Wisconsin on the road like they should, they're going to go into the Big Ten tournament feeling like they're in great position to get a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament. Now, again, you kind of have to relook at things when you get to that point. If they do get there, see, do they need to win a game at the Big Ten tournament? Who would that quarterfinal matchup be? Because obviously there's going to be a couple games before that to determine who that opponent is. But Iowa's put themselves in a position where they can get as high as a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament. And they're probably more towards the 60 or 65% chance of doing that, rather than before the Michigan game yesterday was, they're probably not a favorite against Michigan. They probably got to get this if they get to the 2 seed. They've done it now. So they've put themselves in a position to get that 2 seed. And that means a lot in terms of trying to get to the Sweet 16. You start talking about the second round would be a 7 or a 10 seed rather than maybe a 6 or 11. Or if you're a 4 seed, you got to play a 5 seed who's probably a team that was right on the bubble to host as well. And it also means a lot in terms of trying to get to the Elite Eight. Like I said, a 2 seed, if you get there and get into the right spot, you're playing a 3 seed rather than if you're a 4, you got to play a 1, which is maybe a UCLA, maybe a UConn or a South Carolina. Playing one of those teams is very, very different in the Sweet 16 than maybe playing a 3 seed or who knows, maybe a 6 seed upsets the 3 seed and all of a sudden you're playing a 6 seed to go to the Elite Eight rather than a 1 seed. So Iowa has improved their chances dramatically in terms of where they're going to be for seeding in the NCAA tournament, and where their seeding is in the NCAA tournament changes their ceiling in terms of how deep can they go in March. Because as we've talked about, I think if they were a 4 seed and they were a 4 seed in the NCAA tournament, I think their ceiling would be a Sweet 16, because I don't know that they're at the level to upset a 1 seed. But if they can get to a 3, they're already at a 3. If they can get to a 2, they dramatically change their chances, and you can get to an Elite Eight, and all of a sudden that opens up opportunities for a 1 seed to potentially get shocked somewhere. Or you're in the Elite Eight, and now it's you start talking about now it's anyone's chance at that point. So Iowa's done a lot over the last 4 games. It's not long ago we were talking about 3-game losing streak. Is Iowa going to fall off the hosting bubble or hosting line? They put themselves in position to be in a great spot going into the NCAA tournament.
Kyle, there were a lot of talented young basketball players at Carver Hawkeye, including one of the best in the nation, recruiting wise, that had to help a ton. I obviously haven't talked to all of them or anything like that, but who was in attendance? And I know like we're focused on, heck, it's March in a week and the NCAA tournament's coming, Big Ten tournament's coming, but on the other side of things, that's a big victory when it comes to on a big stage, national recruiting, those kind of things as well for the future.
Yeah, I mean, certainly anytime that you bring in, kids for a visit or an official, unofficial visit, whatever, obviously how the visit goes and how they, mesh with the coaching staff and when they meet the players and all that stuff, all that matters a lot. But then when they're at the game itself, you want the environment to be great. You want it to, and that's why they bring in so many recruits for some of these big games, because they want the top tier environments. It's different than if you bring in for an unofficial visit and they're playing on a Wednesday night against like Rutgers or something. And you're like, the crowd's half full because it's, an 8:00 tip or something like that. So certainly you bring them in for the big games, but then they've still got to do the job. The crowd's got to be into it and the team's got to win the game. And that's obviously what they did yesterday. And they've done that a lot of times, as we mentioned, in terms of, how they've done in those big games at home. So yeah, I mean, certainly the atmosphere and how Iowa played, plays a part into, that's hard for any other school to match in terms of that environment. So it's not the only factor. Certainly we've seen a lot of highly rated recruits visit for some big games and then go elsewhere. But it certainly does not hurt to have, 7 or 8, however many recruits were there, and have them, experience that. They're down there right on one of the first couple of rows. So it's just as loud as it is on the court. And they can see the team playing. They can kind of feel the environment and feel what it's like to potentially be at Iowa and play in those uniforms and have that environment behind you. The biggest one there was Nation Williams, who's a top 10 prospect for the class of 2027, 6'2" forward out of Las Vegas. Her mom is the former Las Vegas Aces GM. So someone that definitely knows Megan Gustafson, someone that definitely knows Kate Martin, 2 former Hawkeyes. So I don't know how much those two have maybe mentioned stuff to Nation Williams if they've gotten to talk with her. But certainly it doesn't hurt to have that connection with a couple of former Hawkeyes, a couple of pretty recent former Hawkeyes as well. Obviously Kate the most recent, and then Megan is a little bit further back, but still a very recent one that can talk about kind of the growth of Iowa women's basketball over the past decade. But then there were kind of I think 4 or 5 in the 2028 class, and then a couple in the 2029 class, and certainly they're a little bit further off from making their decision and things like that. But certainly the environment that you had yesterday and getting the win, those are things that early in someone's recruitment can kind of stand out. I think once you get later into someone's recruitment, it's not as much about what's the environment like, things like that. It's about how am I meshing with the coaching staff, some of the players that I may play with, the freshmen and sophomores that are on the team, things like that. Certainly a lot more goes into it later in the recruitment, but I think early in the recruitment of some of these players, when you start talking about 28, 29 recruits that are freshmen and sophomores and still early in their high school careers, these environments can really stand out in terms of getting you and a little bit further into the recruitment with them, because they understand that this is the type of environment that I can play in front of when I'm in Iowa. Whereas I think later in the recruitment, it's kind of more about, like I said, how am I meshing with the coaching staff? I understand what I can play in front of. Now, do I want to play with these players, these coaches, things like that? But certainly, I mean, like I said, it doesn't hurt to have that type of environment and then get the win to go along with it.
He's my favorite person from Bettendorf to come on the show. And that includes
You've had a lot of people
and Nicholas Baer and Michael Gordon. I mean, there's a lot, but he's Kyle Huesmann. He's the most famous. People like him the most.
I think I don't know about most famous. I mean, we can say what we want about Pat, but I mean, Nicholas Baer's on here. He's definitely more famous out of Bettendorf.
He's the best. Bear Cage, second best guy from Bettendorf. And hey, their basketball team's good. Michael Gordon was on here last week as well, making half court shots and everything else. So Kyle, get some rest. Maybe Mother Nature will get you a day off this week. We'll wait and see. But the busy stretch is coming. So anybody who needs anything when it comes to Iowa women's basketball, follow Kyle on social media and then check him out at HawkeyeReport.com. Kyle, be good. I know we'll catch up with you again real soon. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks for having me on.
All right. That is Kyle Huesmann right here on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. A big week for the Hawkeyes ahead. Illinois is a really good program with Shauna Green. They go to Carver Hawkeye, I believe, on Thursday for a big basketball game. Wednesday, the Iowa men host Ohio State at Carver Hawkeye Arena. I'll be back at Carver coming up on Wednesday, at least, maybe Thursday. I got to figure out kids and all those kind of things as well. But we got a lot more to get to. Coming up after the break, a very, very special person passed away this past weekend. Father Mirabelli was an amazing human being, and he will be celebrated by so many. We're going to look back at his legacy and his life with Larry Schulte, Pat Rangel, and John Marx. All of that and much more. The Maquoketa girls coming up in hour number 2 as well. A lot to get to. It's a Monday right here in the Quad Cities. We'll be right back. All right, be honest. Are you craving Hungry Hobo again? You know, that fresh sliced meat piled high on those amazing sandwiches, hot off the grill chicken and steak, with all those delicious toppings, the biggest and best selection of baked potatoes, or simply some waffle fries dipped in cheese. Well, now that Quad City favorite is even easier to get. Download the Hungry Hobo app today. Order ahead, skip the line, and earn rewards all at the same time. There's Double Points Monday and exclusive specials as well. With 12 locations in the Quad City area, it's Hungry Hobo, now even easier to find, but still hard to resist.
Rafferty Funeral Home, dedicated to serving families in the Quad Cities since 2007.
Hi, welcome. Yeah, come on in.
An experienced staff plans each service to reflect the unique life and legacy of your loved one. Rafferty Funeral Home is proud to serve our community with dignity, respect, and compassion, helping you to celebrate your traditions and lasting memories no matter your faith, culture, or budget. Rafferty Funeral Home in Moline. Call today to discuss prearrangements.
When it comes to quality, convenient pizza, Godfather's Pizza in Silvis has you covered. Featuring a beautiful dine-in area, delivery, and a carry-out window. Godfather's Pizza is that pizza you grew up with, not a convenience store. You see, at Godfather's Pizza, the dough is made fresh daily. That mozzarella cheese is shredded fresh and never frozen, and those toppings are abundantly piled high each and every time. Locally owned and operated since 2010, Godfather's is a huge supporter of local athletes right here in the Quad Cities. So come on by and check them out at 1211 Avenue of the Cities in Silvis. Order online at godfathers.com and reunite with that same delicious pizza you grew up with. Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Monday in the Quad Cities. The weekend got off to a very sad start. Alleman High School and the entire Quad Cities lost an amazing man over the weekend. Father Daniel Marabelli passed away on Saturday morning. Father was 94 years old. He spent 74 years in religious life, 58 at Alleman High School. Anyone that knows Alleman High School or Father Mirabelli knows that Father was, is, and always will be Alleman High School. Father Mirabelli retired back in 2023, but trust me, Father Mirabelli never left Alleman High School. You see, growing up as an Alleman student, you knew this man. Father Mirabelli was the priest that came to your school in grade school to talk to you about Alleman High School, that little old school on top of the hill. He was that friendly face in the hallways in high school when you were having a great day and when you were having a bad day as well. And then when you left Alleman and graduated, you would come back and the first face you would see was Father Mirabelli. He made myself feel like I was the most important student at Alleman High School. But here's the thing. Father Mirabelli made every student and every young person feel the exact same way. Back in 2006, we decided to do a feature story on Father Mirabelli at WQAD. It was a regular Friday night in the Western Big Six. It was Rock Island versus Alleman. But also on that night, Rock Island student athlete Travis Hearn was seriously injured. Here's a look at that story back from 2006 from Courtney Brennan and photojournalist Andy McKay.
And we beg you, God, that you protect each and every one from any harm or any danger.
It's Friday night.
Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. Good luck, guys, and play Alleman football.
The Pioneers primed for a win. And on the sidelines is a small man.
Oh, baby. Come on, guys, let's go.
Who's the pillar of Alleman High School.
I live for the football season. That's the highlight of my year.
Hit him hard and hit him low.
Father Mirabelli is a die-hard fan.
Come on, hold that line.
A former tackle.
Come on, hold that line. Come on, babe.
Mirabelli never watches the game from the stands.
I have to see the line. I have to see the way they line up. If you control that line of scrimmage, you're going to be in good shape.
Add up, baby kid.
For a man of prayer.
Hey, 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 it's good. Hey, hey, it's good. Okay.
Mirabelli can get a little intense.
Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby. Oh, God, I'm sorry.
He doesn't tolerate trash talk from his players.
You look at the guy, and if you hit him hard, say, Jesus loves you, baby.
But sometimes holding your tongue is easier said than done.
I says, ref, what are you doing? He looked at me, he says, it's a 15-yard penalty against you. So I got a 15-yard penalty that time. That was in Galesburg. That's about, that was Mike Tracy was coach. And Mike says, Father, you stay in that box and don't you move.
He says he's learned his lesson.
That's a hold, that's a hold.
But sometimes he just can't help himself.
No, they were offside.
The game is close.
Come on, Lord, please.
I have a little rosary in my pocket.
Winning is important,
Praise Lord.
but he doesn't pray for victory.
I enjoy the contact. Enjoy, again, the strategy that they use. But I hope that no one gets hurt on either side.
Come here, guys.
Tonight, a Rocky player is seriously injured.
Almighty God, we pray for the opponent that is not serious. As I say again, we like to win, but we don't want anyone to get hurt. So we hope he'll be okay. Lord, please help him. We beg of you.
And Mirabelli runs right to his side.
God bless you, son. You're going to be okay. You're welcome. Take care. God bless, son.
That's Travis Hearn for the Rocks.
I'm there to help them, or whenever they need something, I'm there.
He's been there for many students over the years.
Hey, babe.
How are you doing?
Good to see you. Hi,
So good to see you.
Good, good.
When I have their sons coming here, their daughters and their sons, that's something that's most precious.
God, my girls. You're my beautiful girls, all of you.
The game is a nail-biter to the end, and Alleman pulls it out.
Oh, God, thank you. Thank you, Lord.
Cheers are shared, but perspective is never lost.
My boys are the finest there are. But let us also remember the young man from Rock Island who was hurt. May he.
So joining me now, four gentlemen, well, two gentlemen and John Marx that know all about Alleman High School and Father Mirabelli. We have legendary head basketball coach Larry Schulte, former Alleman student athlete and coach as well, Pat Rangel, and John Marx, who coached I think everything at Alleman over the last 50 years, and a Hall of Famer himself, fellas. So guys, I appreciate you guys doing this. Love talking to all of you. Don't like having to talk to you about what we have to talk about, but we're not here. We're here to celebrate the memory of Father Mirabelli, which I think is an exciting and fun thing. And Coach, I want to start with you, Coach Schulte. Father Mirabelli, when you hear that name, what comes to your mind? What's the first thing you think of?
Oh, just a generous soul who made everybody feel welcome and feel better about themselves. And we were all his sons. No matter what our age, we were always his son when he spoke to us.
No, absolutely.
But
go ahead, Coach.
One of the memories I have of him is almost every after lunch, he would stop by my office, and sometimes we'd chat in actual business, but most of the time it was just telling war stories, and he was full of them. Back in his Fenwick Friars days, when he was a 5'7", 140-pound guard, he would talk about his Hall of Fame coach. I can't remember the guy's name. It was Tony, some other Italian name, and he would talk about the coach. He said his favorite expression, and now Father never swore. The worst I ever heard him say was, "You're a jackass." But his coach, and I don't know if I can say this on air, but his coach would always correct him. He said, sheet boy, you've got the block. And he said, I kind of adopted that, but he says, I found out that I shouldn't say that in mixed company. And so I had to pass on that. Most of the time we're just kibitzing about stuff that, has gone on in his life. And he used to talk about his early teaching days at Peoria Spalding when, as a young priest, there was an old guy that had the same kind of job that Father had at Alleman as far as handling the bookstore and handling the money at the games and all that. And he said, Spalding, if you've ever been there, was not really in a very good neighborhood. And Father would say that the guy would tell me, he said, now we've got about $2,000 here that we took in at the gate today, and you got to take it to the bank after the game. And he said, Father looked at him and said, this isn't a really very nice neighborhood. He said, I don't really think that I should be walking that kind of money by myself to the bank. And he said, the old priest says, he hands me a bag and it's got a gun in it. And he said, I took it. He said, I didn't know how to use it, how to hold it. And he said, I was just afraid that somebody was going to kind of get a hold of me as I was on my way to the bank. And he said, I don't think I could have shot anybody, but he says that's what the priest used to tell me. Shoot them if they want to take your money.
I love it, Coach. I love it, Coach. He was amazing man. Coach Rangel, you walked the halls at Alleman as a student, and that's the one thing. I almost put up a post yesterday, and at the end of it, I almost went, R.I.P. you jackass priest. And I even asked Matt Franks, who I was with, I said, am I going to be okay doing this? And he laughed. He said, you probably shouldn't, because if you don't know, you don't know. But I remember being in 5th grade and him coming to Jordan and come to Alleman and see the jackass priest. And he was such an energetic person that you wanted to go to Alleman because you wanted to be around that man. I guess for you, Coach Rangel, you saw a bunch, you were a coach there, you were an athlete there, you were a student there. Your thoughts, obviously, of the great Father Mirabelli.
Well, like Coach Schulte said, he loved his Alleman kids. And yes, we were his sons. But I tell you, boy, he really doted over the the girls. And if you want to hear that jackass comment, it's when you're in class and that bell rings and the boys get up and leave the classroom. He chases them down the hall and says, "You jackasses, get back here." We weren't allowed to leave until all the girls piled out. He's first. And I learned that my freshman year there when I had him in class. And, it was from right then that he just instilled all those values and that character that, we associate with fathers so much. One of the funniest stories as a student I had is I never really told this story because I was afraid I was going to get him in trouble. But I was in class with him, and it was a game day, and, I was a little tight, and I was rubbing my neck or something, and he came up to me. He asked me, "What's the matter?" And I said, "Well, my neck's a little stiff and everything." He goes, come here, son." So I go up to his desk, and he starts writing out some stuff. He goes, "Now you go down and you ask for Sal. You give this to Sal, and he'll take care of you." Well, what that was people wanted the Rock Island Athletic Club down in Rock Island. So he sent me down there to get the full treatment, the massage, the spa and everything. And I said, "Coach," I said, "I got class." He goes, you don't worry about that. I'll take care of it." So I was going all afternoon on game day, but come game night, that felt great. But I kept that secret for a long time. But that was Father. He would just do little things like that. To be honest with you, I think he spoiled me much too much. But I'm gonna miss him. And we were all his sons, but he was everybody's priest. Everybody's priest. No matter where you went to school, no matter what affiliation you were, he was everybody's priest.
Coach, he and Johnny too. He brought up. I posted something on Facebook like everybody did and should do yesterday, and I have one picture with Father. It was after a race, the Marbelli mile they used to do back. Gosh, my oldest was 5 or 6, so it's a long time ago. It's back when I could run a mile, which is a long time ago. But and I saw him the other week, Johnny, and I wanted to take another one with him, and he was so happy at the Hall of Fame and back in that building. We'll talk a little more about that in a second, but you just and Coach Rangel just mentioned he was everybody's. He made everybody feel special. What Coach Rangel just said about he was spoiled me. I mean, you were a good athlete, Pat. I was a bad athlete, and I felt like he spoiled me. So he made everyone feel special, Johnny, didn't he?
Absolutely. And to Pat's story, Matt, and I was the guy, Pat, on Fridays that would go down and pick up the football programs. So you're 2.5 hours away. Mine was 3.5. It started at 8, and I get back about in time for lunch. But as long as I came back with Father's programs for the night before that night, that was good. I could have been gone, and I spent lunch with Kendall the rest of the afternoon in the hanging out or Mrs. Babinski's office the rest of the day, so I could play football that Friday night. But yes, you and to counter Coach Schulte, when I was about to attend Alleman, and Maddie, you'll understand this, our recruiting budget wasn't as good as Coach Schulte's for his basketball program. But when I walked in, Don George and Rocco Carbone had come to my house and asked me to come to Alleman High School, and I went up there for a visit to be shown the school. And my mother, guys, was a Southern Baptist woman who married a Catholic from Milan, and it was just a crazy union. And she got married in a Catholic church, but never went to mass. She made sure we all went, and we walked in that day, and Don George met us, and Coach Carbone, before he passed, met us, and after they made their little spiel, Father took not me. Took my mother on a walk through the school, and she's the most non-Catholic person in the world, unless her children made sure we went. And by the time we got to the end of that day, that tour, those two, I was going to Alleman. Bottom line. So it wasn't my father, the Catholic, that made the decision. It was my mother, the Southern Baptist, who made the decision because of Father Mirabelli.
We're joined right now by John Marx, Pat Rangel, and Larry Schulte here on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Coach Schulte, and we saw it in the great story that Andy McKay shot at WQAD. Courtney Brennan was the reporter. It was back on the night that Travis Hearn originally got hurt, but we just happened to be doing a feature story with Father that night, and you got a glimpse, besides what he was as a rock when it came to that tragedy, but just of his liveliness and his competitiveness. So that's why I wanted to ask you, Coach Schulte. Father, I always used to say Father loves everyone. He likes winning too. And he even mentioned he's a little competitive. Coach Schulte, can you speak to that? He enjoyed being competitive and he enjoyed winning too, didn't he?
Oh, yes, he did. He worshiped Don Morris, and Don Morris, they were playing at Dubuque Wahlert. There was a coach there by the name of Eddie Colbert that had been there as long as Don was, and they were really good friends. But when the ball got thrown up, they were real enemies. And during the game, it ended up with some exchange between the two coaches, and the coaches were kind of in each other's grill and had to be kind of separated by cooler heads at the time. And then Bobby Donker told this story. He says, we went out in the hallway after the game, and they had a priest that had the same position that Father had at Alleman. And he said, the next thing you know, he says, we're having to get in between two priests that were ready to duke it out in the lobby. So he was a competitor. He also told me, he said, besides the Lord, there's three things that I love. He said, I love Alleman football, I love Notre Dame football, and I love Reba McEntire or whatever his name, the singer, the country singer. I said, well, what does that have to do with football? So I don't know. I just love the way she sings. And she came to the Mark down here, and my God, somebody got him tickets, and I've never seen him so happy to see Reba McEntire. I used to tease him about being a closet Western singer fan.
Oh, that's so good, Coach. Coach Schulte, Larry Schulte, Pat Rangel, and John Marx joining us on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Coach Schulte, Coach Rangel, kind of the same thing. He was a competitive. Was there any time? I mean, you coached there, you played there. Your stories or your thoughts when it comes to that competitive little Italian that loved God, loved Jesus, loved Alleman. He liked to win too, and that's okay.
Oh yeah, I tell you, I started requesting him to come in and talk to my teams when I was coach there. He just had this way of just motivating our kids. I can't repeat everything he says, but he was just. I just remember one time we were playing Rocky, and he comes in on that Thursday night practice and gets us all around and he basically saying, don't back down. You don't back down to these players, all this other stuff. And our kids were just locked on him like no other. And that was the powder game. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Yeah.
But, and then we go and win that game. And I just remember telling my assistant coaches that I said, "Boy, I got a good feeling about this." And they said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Man, Father just is getting us pumped up." I said, "I think we're gonna have a good game tomorrow." So that was one of the best things that I always loved when I was coaching there. And as you mentioned, I was a student with Father. I played for Coach Morris, and Coach Schulte mentioned the relationship that they had, and I feel very blessed that. My 4 years there playing, I got to witness that relationship and that closeness that they had. And even then I had an appreciation for it. And I'm glad that I did as a young kid, because he would ride the bus with us on bus trips to Galesburg, to Quincy. And looking back on that was just time that I just cherished. Most kids, high school kids, don't enjoy sitting with an adult on the bus. But, man, I always said, "Father, you can come sit with me." And we would just talk and I would listen to him and Coach Morris talk, and it was just really nice to see that type of love and friendship that they had. And then I'm equally blessed that I played for Don Morris. I got to coach under Coach Schulte. This whole family dynamic, as you know, just comes full circle when you talk about Father, and he's at the top of that, and it just all filters down. And I couldn't be more blessed to be associated with Alleman and with Father Mirabelli.
No, well said, Coach. Well said. Johnny, you look at and both these guys, basketball coaches, talk about football, and that makes sense. I mean, the story that Courtney and Andy did, he loved the game of football. You coached football at Alleman for, well, maybe too long. No, I'm kidding. For a long time. What was that dynamic like, Johnny? Because he was almost like a coach on the sideline at some points when he'd get in there and he'd get active. And the best part for me is I would go there covering games, and then I tried to get a cutaway of Father. You know, I tried to get a little shot of Father to put in there. He wanted no part of it. And my son, no, don't take any video of me. And then, but he was so great. He was so active. He was so animated. It was a great little shot. Johnny, your thoughts of Father and Alleman football, they go hand in hand, do they not?
Well, Pat and Larry both understand the impact that Father had on their programs. As a player growing up, masses were always, you look forward to it because you got that Bears-Packers speech of whatever it might be, the Butkus era with Hallis and Lombardi, and then it carried on something Notre Dame would be thrown in. And these were the same speeches that still resonated with our young kids when we all had to go to Mass, or we all got the opportunity to have Father say Mass for us. And we couldn't start a football game unless Father prayed for us, and of course we couldn't leave the stadium unless Father prayed with us. But you were talking, Maddie, about the sidelines. And Larry and Pat know, as an assistant coach, I was the biggest pain in the rear end as anybody could ever be, because I thought I could get away with anything, and Larry was always putting out fires because of some dumbass assistant coach, me. So, but Father would go to the sideline and he would walk down if it was 3rd and 6 and we got 5. You'd always turn and Father would give you got this far. And he's not supposed to be there telling us how far we have. And every time he would go, and he got, as Coach Tracy told you, he got a 15-yard penalty. Well, again, I was always out on the field getting in trouble, shouldn't have been. But if Father ever got close to the field, I was never, or anybody in our staff, we weren't going to be the ones to go tell Father to get back. That you just didn't do that. So if Father could do whatever he wanted as far as we were concerned, would stand wherever he wanted. Usually had a great rapport with officials because they all loved and respected him, and they would let him have his say. I didn't know the night that he got banged in Galesburg. It doesn't surprise me that he got it there. But Quincy, I'm surprised it didn't happen there. But again, he was such. The kids loved him. We loved him. And I loved the fact that I got to grow up and have him be part of that every day.
Johnny, I want to stay with you for a second because the Hall of Fame was 3 weeks ago, I think, a little more than 3 weeks ago. Inducted was the 75 team, and Father was back in the building. And I'm going to be a good boy and not get into the facts of what has maybe happened at Alleman several years ago that wasn't the greatest in the world, but it's great. Honestly, they're doing a great job there now, and things are doing much better, obviously. And to see him back in the building, and Johnny, you saw him at the basketball game, and he smiled from ear to ear. But then he went down to the social, and he was. I said to my wife later that night, I said, Father was smiling like he used to smile. And I don't know if that makes sense because there was a bunch of nonsense that went on in that building that we can do another show on that, and I will if we want to. But he was back in his building and he was smiling again, and he was there till the very end, and he prayed with us and for us and all those kind of things, led us in prayer. Am I too cheesy thinking that Father was just, it was like almost closure that he looked around and he was at peace being back in the building that he loved. And let's be honest, gentlemen, that he built. That building is here because of Father Mirabelli. Is that you were there that night? Your thoughts?
You make a great point, and Coach Schulte and Coach Rangel will attest to it. The building's upright because of Father. We all know that. The lights are on and all that. from all the work he did for 55, 60 years. And we're all lucky and blessed. But Maddie, that night, it had been 6, 8 months, a year since I'd seen him. And you said he was smiling. But you guys, and Coach Schulte, you'll understand because we're not that far off in age. But when you get a bunch of guys that are heading close to 70 years old, and there are a variety of ailments and bumps and bruises that you fight with and life, you get an opportunity to be recognized for something that was took a long time in coming. You were excited, but to a man, and we all met on Thursday before a great many for dinner, and the one overriding factor for both days was the fact that they thought Father might be. You had that glimpse. Jane Barrett said, "Hey, Father might be there." Mark Vanetta said, "Father might be there." You know, you talk about guys 67, 68, growing and going close to 70 years old, Matt, that just cried like little babies because they had an opportunity to spend one more night with Father. And Coach Jorgensen, who's had some health struggles, his eyes lit up when he saw Father. We've all had bumps. It was, please, I'm not trying to be cornballish, kind of magical. And you guys all understand. They beat Geneseo that night. Owen Doak talked about how much he hated Geneseo. It was a great night, and it was all compounded with Father being there.
No, I absolutely agree. All right, fellas, I want to figure out a way to remember Father. And I don't mean that between all of us and everyone, the thousands upon the tens and hundreds of, I mean, honestly, it's tens of hundreds of thousands of people that he's touched in his long life in the Quad Cities. Coach Schulte, how do we correctly remember Father, if that makes any sense? I mean, obviously the chapel is named after him at the high school. What's the appropriate way to remember somebody who maybe was Alleman High School, is Alleman High School in a way?
Well, I think I mentioned this when I talked to you the other day. In my opinion, for whatever it's worth, the school now should bear the name of Alleman Mirabelli High School, because, as you've mentioned, he was the school. I mean, all the additions that were put on, all the added things that, including the football field and the baseball fields. Father was instrumental in everything that went on that way. And, as you said, the school probably wouldn't still be in existence if he hadn't saved all of those things for us and improved the facilities the way that he has, and the way he took care of the facilities. I mean, you go into that building with the age of, from 1949 on, it looks like a building that's probably 20 years old, not nearly as old as it is. So I think his name should be on the school, because he was the school.
No, it's well said, Coach Schulte. Coach Rangel, you've been on the receiving end of a Father Mirabelli phone call that said, "Hey, Father needs you." You know what I mean? Like we all have, and we all chuckle. I had a friend tell me one time, he's like, "Do you have it in your heart?" And like, my friend felt horrible because he was like, I had already given some and I had it in my heart. I didn't have it in my bank account, but I had it in my heart. Talk to that, because Coach Rangel, when Father called, you picked up and it was, "Yes, Father." It was always "my son," and it was "Yes, Father."
When I was coaching there and, just out of school, my phone would ring, and this is how I am. I hate to admit it, but my wife would bring my phone to me because I just never have it on me. And she goes, "Oh, so-and-so's calling." I go, just let it ring. But then when she said it's Father Mirabelli, I'm like, "All right, give me the phone." And then it was like, you just do. All right, do I have time to do whatever he's going to ask me to do? But yeah, you never said no. And I never would, never dreamed of it. So yeah, anytime he called, you answered. But to Coach Schulte's point, I couldn't agree more that we should name the school after him. But aside from that, the way I think we should remember is just what we're doing now, and just nurture our memories of him, and keep telling these stories. Since his passing, I've had so many people ask me about him, and it's just been healing for me just to be. I've been doing this for the past day and a half, just telling stories. Even my wife and I, we were driving down to Jacksonville yesterday to see my daughter's last collegiate game, and I just mentioned we were talking about Father so much, and then I just mentioned it, just the last comment that I said, I'm so glad that he was able to marry us. He actually married us, my wife and I.
Yep.
And Seth goes, yeah, I'm glad too. I'm also glad he called me the wrong name in the ceremony. I'm like, oh, come on. He goes, no, it was great. But that was Father, he would just. But the other thing about that we should remember about is how poetic he was. And to get not only a phone call from him, but what about a letter? And I cherish those notes that he would write, because he was so
always
articulate.
in green.
Always in green.
Just and it's just I just have some notes that I just cherish and hold on to them. But yeah, from that standpoint, I think that's how we should remember him. Just what a wonderful spirit, wonderful guy.
Well said, Coach. Johnny, I'm going to leave with you because I got 4 boys of my own, and I think back to when I was in Jordan and seeing Father, and you wanted to go into that building, and I got a sophomore there now who hasn't been in the building with Father, and I feel bad for those kids. I do. And I think his spirit will help that building, that school live for a long, long time. I don't worry about that, but I feel bad for my own kids, because that was. I remember being in high school having a crappy day and seeing Father and all right, we're good. He would settle you down. He would talk to you. Johnny, how does Alleman, and the Quad Cities is doing a great job too. That's the cool thing, is the outpouring from the entire Quad Cities, not just from Alleman people, but from the entire Quad Cities is pretty cool. Different schools, Western big schools, all that. I'll let you have the last word, because guys, I've known Johnny forever and he always gets the last word. The last word when it comes to when it comes to Father Mirabelli. I love you.
I think Coach Schulte and Coach Rangel are correct. If they don't name the school, put up a big sign in front of the building and says the Marbelli wing, whatever it might be, that they can pay tribute and do it justice. Please don't ever. What all I ask is, and I'm like Coach Schulte and Coach Rangel. One of the beauties is, Maddie, is my son got, most of his high school career or his time at Alleman was because Father was still there. And had things not got right and Father not been around, my son would have stayed at Regina after he did and played football there. So he was a huge reason. He said it's such an impact. Marriage, yes, Pat, we've all got those stories and mispronounced names at my dad's funeral. And but you just rolled with it. Coach Schulte, you'll know this more than all 3 of us. Your relationship with Duncan Reed was special. Coach Rangel, you understood Coach Reed. If you didn't know Duncan Reed, until some things changed in his life, you had no time for him. Father Mirabelli, this is the kind of man Father Mirabelli was. Absolutely loved Duncan Reed. Absolutely loved it. Now, because many things, they could joke together, and you had to know Coach Reed's personality, and he could be abrasive, which you all know. But how many people went and looked for Father's dog when Father's dog went missing? And the man leading that charge was Duncan Reed. And that endeared them both to each other forever. And if Father could find common ground with the head basketball coach at Rock Island High School, he could find common ground with anybody. And we are indebted for the opportunity to have known him.
Well said, Johnny. I lied. I have one more. Coach Schulte, what did Father ever say to you? I don't want to. You've been known to get a technical or 2 along the way. I heard. I'm just. What was Father's? Did Father ever say anything to you? Did you have to talk to him the next day? Is there any story about that?
Yeah, I got a technical, and his comment afterwards was, "What took you so long? I would have had one before that." He says they missed so damn many calls.
That's perfect. That's perfect. That's perfect. Guys, I can't thank you guys enough for doing this. This is three guys that have made a huge impact on Alleman High School. I don't deserve to be on this screen. So thank you guys for sharing. We could do this for another hour and a half if we wanted to, but thank you guys for sharing your thoughts of Father Mirabelli, one of the best human beings you'll ever come across. Boys, I appreciate it. We'll talk again soon. And Coach Schulte, hats off for you. Mr. Technology up there doing this on his phone. He's holding his phone the whole time. That's impressive.
That's because of our laptop is not working, so I had to do it on my phone.
Well, you did great. You did great. Gentlemen, I appreciate it. We'll catch up again soon. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Matt.
All right. That is Pat Rangel, Larry Schulte, and John Marx talking about a very special human being. Rest in peace, Father Mirabelli. We'll be right back.
Give me the keys. Learning to drive can be stressful for both the student and, yes, the parent as well. Relax. There's an easy way to avoid the stress. Skiles Driving School in East Moline has been helping new drivers hit the road with confidence for over 20 years. Whether you're a teen earning your first license or an adult looking for behind-the-wheel training, we've got you covered. Their certified instructors are patient, experienced, and use modern vehicles equipped for safety and comfort. From classroom instruction to real-world driving, we make learning safe, affordable, and even fun. Call 309-278-0098 or visit skylesdriving.com. Skiles Driving School. Get in, buckle up, drive your future forward.
Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Monday in the Quad Cities. The fun has already begun. High school teams on both sides of the river are already starting the postseason trail. And for the ladies in Iowa, there are teams already punching their ticket to state. In 3A, it was a really good weekend for a pair of local teams. Mediapolis staying undefeated. They're going to state. And also in 3A, the number 2 ranked Maquoketa Cardinals going to state as well. We're joined now by a trio of Cardinals right here. Cora Widel, Aubrey Kroymann, and Kendall Kuhlman joining us right now on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Ladies, thank you for doing this. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
All right. I guess I'll start with you, Cora. You guys are heading back to state. I know it was a goal. The goals are maybe a little higher than just going to state, but you can't win state unless you get there. What was Saturday night like, and how excited are you ladies to be heading back to state once again?
It was great. The energy in the gym was crazy. You know, I don't think we've had that many fans all season, so just seeing that many people come support, seeing a student section full from the bottom to the top of the bleachers meant a lot. It really helped us on the court, and it was just exciting to see that many people come support us.
Aubrey, you look at it, and you three are seniors. It's a special senior group. You guys have played a lot of basketball together. This was your last game at home. Could you even think about that at the time? You had a job to do, but was it in the back of your head? And obviously, that's a pretty good way to end it at your own court.
Yeah, we were talking about it before the game, like a couple days before, which it didn't feel real. And then obviously when it was game time, I wasn't really thinking about it too much. But thinking about it now, it's crazy. I mean, I'm really going to miss it. It's been so much fun, and it's just it's a big part of my life, and I'm going to miss it so much.
Yeah, you guys, the good news is more basketball to be played. Kendall, you look at the game itself, Assumption, battle-tested, they play in the MAC. They played some of the best teams, all those kind of things. It was very businesslike for you ladies. If there were any nerves, I don't think it showed. A great first quarter. I think it was 11-2 at one point. Kendall, what was it about the start of that game to kind of, set the tone at home with that crowd? Tell me about the game itself and how important was that start that you ladies had?
I think starting the game for us was something that we really wanted to do, just go out there and just put our foot down right away, because that was going to set the tone for the rest of the game, and just being able to get out to that lead helped us throughout the game.
Absolutely. Cora, you look at it and yeah, you could have had a crazy finish and that would have been exciting and all that kind of stuff. You didn't, which was also nice because it was a comfortable victory. Closing in on that last couple minutes, what was it like to know you were going someplace you guys wanted to go back to? Know you're playing your last couple minutes on a court you played a lot of basketball in. Can you take me inside the emotions of what was going through your mind maybe in the fourth quarter of that basketball game?
I just think it was almost like a feeling of relief off the shoulders, kind of just knowing like we came in, we did our job, we played good, we played as a team. So I guess just I don't know, it was just a great feeling knowing that it wasn't a close game at the end, so it was kind of comfortable. Yeah. So we could kind of enjoy the moment, not be too stressed with each other, and celebrate.
Yes, a stress-free moment. I think Coach probably appreciated that, guys, as well, that he didn't have to deal with that. Aubrey, you look at it, and I always used to joke covering sports forever in the Quad Cities that, especially for the girls' sports, you get the flag or the plaque or whatever it is. In Iowa, it's the flag, and you scream. I mean, obviously, it was the yelling, the scream. What was the celebration like for you ladies?
It's so fun. I mean, I remember just watching, it was like 45 seconds left, just waiting for the moment to come. It is so exciting. And then when the student section comes running at you, it's kind of scary. I almost fell over, but it's so much fun being able to celebrate with everyone. And it's crazy. It's going to be a huge memory. I'll never forget it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The Maquoketa girls joining us right now and off there with Matt Randazzo. Kendall, when did you, and I don't think you're surprising anybody by going back to state. Obviously the expectations were pretty high. What was the mindset, Kendall, coming into this season? Because it wasn't, if we do certain things right, we might be pretty good. I think the expectations were pretty high. Did you guys put high expectations on yourselves?
I think we hold ourselves to high expectations, but this year coming in, we always had like the motto, like be better. And because last year didn't end how we wanted it to, so there's always things that we could be better at, and just pushing ourselves to be better every single day will help us achieve the goal at the end of the season.
Cora, there's a good thing about Iowa or a bad thing about Iowa. You clinch to go to state on Saturday and then you don't play again. I think is it Monday or Tuesday that you guys play?
Monday night at 8:30.
Yeah, so you get like an 8-day little, which is cool because you can kind of celebrate a little bit before you have to get back to work. What's the mindset of this team? You seem, I know you guys are having fun, but very businesslike. Like you're not content by any stretch of the imagination. What is the mindset right now? Knowing, and is it a good thing? Do you like the little layoff, or do you wish you could go play at state as fast as possible?
I appreciate the layoff. I think it gives us time to really lock in and prepare for the team we're playing at state. We're not going to feel like rushed at all. We can really hammer down and like I just focus on like the small things. But yeah, I think the break is good.
Absolutely. Aubrey, we've had Coach on several times, and he's talked about this group. And I think when we had him on this year, he talked about being battle tested and the conference you play in and all those kind of things. But even outside of that, you guys came out of the gate playing the best teams in the entire state. It didn't matter 3A, 4A, 5A, whatever. How much has that helped you guys? Not just through the season, but maybe right now, that anything you see at state won't be a surprise because you guys have been battle tested throughout the season.
Yes, being able to play those games throughout the season is a huge deal for us. I mean, it's better than any practice we'll ever have, any other game we'd ever have. We're seeing the best competition, so that way when it does come to state, we know what we can do and we know what to expect, and we can play through anything and play against anyone because we've played the best to be the best.
No, absolutely. Kendall, every team wants to be playing their best basketball this time of year. how good are you guys playing? I know coaches always want a little more. There's always things they can nitpick about, and probably you guys, I can tell you guys probably nitpick a little bit as well. Very, very businesslike. Kendall, how good is this team playing? And what's left? Is there more in the tank when it comes to maybe even playing that next step, that next level above?
I think we can always play better. As you say, we have high expectations for ourselves, and there's things that this week we can really work on in practice because we do get that whole week off. So I think that's good for us, and just like being better at that.
No, absolutely. Cora, I know it's a team sport, and you're about the team, and you're excited. You're the leading scorer in school history, I hear. Rumor has it you've had a pretty good career.
Oh, yeah.
What does that mean to leave and your name is atop the list of a rich tradition of basketball, Maquoketa?
It means a lot. It's a great accomplishment, I think, but it really isn't me. Every single point that I've scored, someone else has helped me score it. Like every point I score is also my teammates' points. I can't do it without them. There's 5 girls on the court, so yeah.
That's so well said. I would walk around and then make my teammates call me Mr. All-Time Leading Scorer. So you're I'm very impressed by that. Aubrey, you look at it and 3A, it's a gauntlet. I mean, and we've talked with Todd Borson, the head coach in Mediapolis, was on a few weeks ago, and he talked about how good the conference or the class is, and your coach has said the same things. You guys go to state Tuesday night to play an unbeaten Mediapolis team in the first round. Can you talk about your opponent, what you know, and then just in general, you look at the bracket, it's a really good class in 3A.
Yeah, definitely we'll be watching tons of film on them. We've looked at it a little bit. I know that they have 3 pretty good players. It'll be a really good matchup. I think they're kind of a lot like us in a way. I mean, I'm pretty sure they still have 5 starting seniors. We are 5 starting seniors. So it's a really good matchup. But yeah, we'll definitely dig more into that throughout the week to really settle in on each player individually. But yeah, they are undefeated, but I don't know. I'd like to see them play like Johnston and some of the teams we've played. But yeah, it'll be a fun game.
No, it should be an absolute blast. Kendall, you look at your head coach. We've had him on, like I mentioned. Really, really good coach. What does Coach Speck mean to you guys when it comes to, basketball and then maybe outside basketball as well?
He means a lot to us. He came here our sophomore year, and I think that really changed our program a lot around. And I know we all like to joke with him. We all like to rage bait him, as we say. So it's really fun, just every day at practice.
No, he loves us. He claims he hates us. He'll tell anyone he hates us. He's probably going to watch this. So, Coach, we know you love us.
Yeah.
What I gotta ask. I gotta follow up, Kendall. What do you guys rage bait him about? Like, what gets him? What do you know? There's a certain few things that will trigger Coach, if that makes any sense.
Well, he always says stuff to me, so I just go back and say stuff to him. I know what's something.
Jewelry.
Oh,
we always joke about it.
Yeah, because we got a technical for having one in. So.
Yeah. What else? Oh, we joke about sometimes his bald head.
He's old. He's a grandpa. Yeah. He eats too much pizza.
And the him coming from DeWitt, just with the rivalry, we'll joke about that sometimes with him.
Ladies, I said name something. I didn't, and you guys had like 10 things. Poor Coach. I feel bad for him. I love it though. The Maquoketa girls joining us right now and off there with Matt Randazzo. Ladies, I love to ask fun questions. When you guys win, Cora, is there a place or someplace I kind of joked the Central DeWitt girls were on a few weeks ago when they won the MAC, and I kind of joked like there's a McDonald's there, and they're like, yeah, that's where we kind of go. I was kind of joking, but small towns, is there a tradition food wise, someplace you guys like to go to when it comes to maybe celebrating a victory or a trip to state?
I guess sometimes you go to McDonald's, lots of times you go out of town. To Davenport or to Butte, but Or we'll just go to each other's houses after the games and celebrate with each other and our teammates.
All right. I know you guys are probably healthier eaters than I am, and you got ready for state. But Aubrey, if there's like a favorite food, what's the favorite food for you?
It definitely depends on what I am feeling. But like right now, if I had to pick, sushi.
Sushi. Look, Cora,
Yeah.
hold on. Cora, you do not agree with that answer.
I don't know.
Sushi or like
Her face just dropped
pizza.
like, what?
Sushi. Not a sushi girl.
I love sushi.
I love it. Kendall, I'm going to ask all you guys or I ask you this, superstition wise, are you superstitious? Is this team superstitious? Are there any goofy things that you guys have to do before games, after games, whenever, to make sure you guys go to state and win and all those kind of things?
I mean, we always listen to music in the locker room. We like making TikToks before the game. I mean, I used to be superstitious. Like last year, I always used to get Subway before every game. This year, not really, but
okay.
That's our we're not that crazy.
Aubrey, are you superstitious? I don't know why, but you seem superstitious.
Okay, kind of, except just recently I have been switching it up, and thankfully it's been okay. But usually it's about my hair. Like a certain hairstyle during the game, I think like we play better. But I have been switching up and we've played perfectly fine. So maybe it's okay.
Maybe don't risk it though. Like these next 3 games are really important. So let's not roll the dice too much. Cora, any superstitions for you?
Well, I guess to go off the hair, I wear the same hairstyle every game. I eat the same steak and potatoes the night before every game, and then I eat a chicken Caesar salad before every single game.
Okay. Steak and potatoes the night before the game. That a girl. Like that's that girl. Well done.
Credit to my parents.
Nice. No, absolutely. All right, I'm going to go back the other direction. I'll start with you again, Cora. If you could have dinner with anybody in the world, dead, alive, whatever, who would you want to have dinner with and why?
Oh, we were talking about this. I probably like Adam Sandler. I think he's like my favorite actor, and he's a funny guy. So seeing him, talking to him in person, I think that'd be fun.
I like that answer. That's the first Adam Sandler I think we've had on the show. Aubrey, you are thinking still? Are you ready?
Yeah.
This is very important.
I think I have one in my head.
Okay, it's your turn. Go.
Do you know who Paddy Pimblett is? He's a famous boxer. I don't know if that's his real name.
God.
Yeah, his nickname is Paddy the Baddy. He's a crazy boxer. He's a fun guy. I would love to have dinner with him.
I don't know who that is, but I'll look it up. I promise.
You have to look up. His mindset is like crazy. I want to get my mindset to his about like victories and winning.
Down.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to investigate this. I like it. Kendall, are you Patty Batty or whatever she just said, or what's the one for you?
I don't know. I have no clue.
Okay, that's okay.
Famous actor, football player.
Caitlin Clark. That's an easy one.
Sure, that would be interesting.
Okay, there you go. There you go. If not, you can just go by yourself and get 2 meals. Get more food that way.
I was just gonna say them because.
Aww.
Kendall, thanks.
Okay, last but not least, I guess last, I don't know, who knows. Every team has chemistry, culture, those are all cliche words. Every team has a goofball or a class clown, if that makes any sense. Somebody who keeps the mood light, somebody who's goofy at practice, the jokester on the team. It might be sitting in the middle of everyone right now. I don't know. But like, who would the goofball or the class clown of this group be? Cora.
I'm serious when I need to be.
Exactly. But it makes better interviews when you're not, and this is outstanding. Ladies, before I let you go, obviously very fun now, but it is an important week. Cora, how important is this for you ladies? And obviously your expectations are as high as ever. You guys want to win a state championship, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really important to us. It's probably like I don't want to say, well, I can say one of the most important things that's ever happened to any of us, really. I think that's kind of how we view it from our standpoint. But yeah, we're just going to lock in, do our thing, and hopefully get things happen.
I love it. And Aubrey, real quick, the community I know is very important. The Maquoketa community is awesome in all the sports. Can you talk about them real quick before I let you go? Because you mentioned, I think everybody in the world was at your game on Saturday night. The community support is awesome. I know they're going to go and watch you guys at state. Talk about what that community, Maquoketa, is like for you ladies as well.
It's crazy because I remember being like in middle school coming to these games, and the gym was like empty for the girls' games specifically. And ever since we were able to come up and play, it has been so crazy, like with tons of fans, like so many. So it feels amazing as being the player, but I just remember that gym being empty. So to be able to be the people that caused that huge explosion in the gym, it's amazing. It's a great feeling.
No, it's awesome. Do me a favor, go win the state championship, and then we'll do this again. Does that work?
Okay.
And
yeah.
and go easy on Coach. He's a good dude.
No.
He's up.
He jokes with us more than we joke with him.
I love it. We're not going to make him out to be the victim. We know. I got your back, girls. We know what it's really like. Ladies, I appreciate it so much. This has been a blast. Good luck at state, and hopefully we catch up soon.
Thank you.
All right. That is the Maquoketa girls. They're heading to state. Of course, other teams from our area hope to punch their ticket to state as well. And they'll take on Mediapolis, a very good team. We had Coach Borson on a few weeks ago as well. So a fantastic first-round matchup in 3A. We got more to get to. You're watching OTA on a Monday right here in the Quad Cities. We'll be right back.
Hello, Dan Pearson here of FCA. Our team is thrilled to support Off the Air with our good friend Matt Randazzo. We share the view of the power of sport when it comes to relationships, including the influence of the coach. FCA believes the coach is the most influential person in America. Matt celebrates local coaches and athletes. His content is informational, insightful, and inspirational. Our Fellowship of Christian Athlete team loves partnering with Off the Air with Matt Randazzo while we engage, equip, and empower coaches and athletes in our 23 counties. FCA, the heart and soul in sports.
View from the West, the podcast covering Illinois high school football.
It's going to be a hard-hitting game. It's going to be great football.
Weekly analysis and reaction from around the western side of the state of Illinois.
This is the game we had circled when the year started.
Follow along on YouTube and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's big-time football out there tonight, and I know we can play big-time football.
View from the West. We got you covered.
Are you looking for the Quad City's best chips and salsa? There's only one dude to turn to.
Right on.
Snoop. Hand-cut chips, fried fresh with that crunch you've come to love. And the most addicting salsa with delicious fresh ingredients each and every time. Pick up your chips and salsa, queso, enchiladas, and much more at the Stern Center in Rock Island. To place your order, simply call the man himself. It's Snoop at 309-314-8197 and find out for yourself what the rest of the Quad Cities already loves. Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Monday in the Quad Cities. Monday, February 23rd. It looks really nice outside, but I think it's a little chilly still. Talking about maybe snow this week. I don't know. I saw something. I went from working for the news and hearing about the weather like 5 times a night to like, I don't follow up on it as much, but ready for spring. Baseball right around the corner. Hopefully you guys are ready for all of that as well. I do have to mention, and I meant to mention at the top of the show, and thankfully the chat keeps me in line. The U.S. hockey team winning the gold medal was awesome. I usually play basketball on Sunday mornings, so it went to overtime when I had to leave, and I was watching on my phone, and to watch that happen. I watched it when I got home and stuff. A historic moment. Awesome stuff. So I don't know. I've watched some Olympics, and you guys can let me know. I haven't watched a ton of Olympics. The hockey I watched probably the most, or hockey I watched the most. I don't sound like my old man. The hockey I watched the most. So congratulations to the U.S. That was a really cool moment on Sunday morning, and I know a ton of people were watching on Sunday morning, and rightfully so. So, also the new AP Top 25 poll for the ladies is out. Iowa up to number 9 in that poll. We talked with Kyle Huesmann earlier in the show, and a 2 seed is a possibility right now, a definite possibility for the Iowa women's basketball program. They'll have some more mocks that come out probably Wednesday, so we'll kind of see where they're at. But they take care of business against Illinois on Thursday, and then Wisconsin again on whatever it is this weekend. They go into the Big Ten tournament with that double bye, probably a 2 seed in the Big Ten tournament, and possibly a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament. Go check out all of Kyle's interview. We broke down the Iowa women, the bright spot in college basketball this weekend. The Iowa State women lost a late lead yesterday and lost that game. Illinois women did win easily, and that sets up a nice showdown with Iowa and Illinois coming up on Thursday evening. And then you look at it, Iowa men, Iowa State men, Illinois men all lose Saturday or Sunday. So, again, a big week. It's Iowa and Ohio State on Wednesday. And then coming up on Friday, it's Michigan and Illinois. We will talk a lot about that on Friday. Maybe the game of the year in the Big Ten. And Illinois coming off a tough loss. That place is going to be electric. We talked with Jim Matson last week, and man, you look at that place and you look at the fact that tickets were already going for crazy amounts of money. They were saying it might be the most expensive ticket in Illinois regular season history. So a great matchup coming up. We'll talk about that this week right here on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo as well. We also took some time today, and thank you for anybody who's maybe not in the Quad Cities or even Western Big Six, Alleman type of people, but for allowing us to take a good chunk of the show and celebrate Father Mirabelli. He passed away this past weekend. He is Alleman High School there for 58 years, in religious life for 74, 94 years old when he passed away this weekend. And so to have Coach Schulte, Pat Rangel, and John Marx on to share stories was therapeutic, good for your soul. And the outpouring of support from non-Alleman people is amazing. And that shows what kind of a human being and a person that Father Mirabelli was. He impacted his pioneers, and he loved his pioneers. But he also impacted everyone in the Quad Cities, everyone he came across. So thank you to those 3 gentlemen for taking some time to celebrate and reflect on the life and legacy of Father Mirabelli. And if you missed it, go back and check it out. It was a lot of fun. And then how fun were the Maquoketa girls? I think Aubrey Kroymann might be my new assistant co-host, or my new co-host. She was awesome, but all 3 young ladies were great. We wish them the best of luck. People in the chat asking, what about Meepo? Yeah, I'm going to effort to probably have Meepo on sometime this week as well. Would be great to talk to. We've had Coach Porson on, but talk to some of their players would be a lot of fun as well. So it will be a fun time for high school basketball. And so we will be having a lot more student athletes and really touch on the high school side of things. I think Tuesday is a big night for the ladies in Iowa, and then all week for the ladies and the guys get started on both sides of the rivers as well. So it should be a fun week when it comes to high school sports and basketball on both sides of the river, but on the high school level as well. I want to thank you guys for watching. It's been a fun Monday here on OTA. We're just getting rocking and rolling. I will tell everyone this. I believe the arrangements have been announced or are going to be announced for Father Mirabelli. The visitation is 1 to 6 at Alleman High School on Sunday, and then the funeral will be at Sacred Heart, I believe. I think at 11 o'clock. Let me check. Got to get these kind of things right. Monday, funeral, 11 a.m. at Sacred Heart in Moline. So there won't be a show next Monday. I'm going to be at a funeral next Monday. But we'll have a full week of shows this week, and we got a ton to talk to. And I hope you guys are along for the ride as well. Thank you guys so much for watching OTA on a Monday. We'll see you guys back here tomorrow.